This is a certified hood classic.
Stop fucking crying, bitch! Where? I don't wanna fucking hear it!
Hi, my name is... What? My name is... My name is... Mike! Hi, my name is... What? My name is... My name is...
Cheese.
Hello, welcome to this special episode of the Extra Chromosome Podcast. It is I, Mike. Joined with me is Jerry, and lack of cheese. I know people are clicking off. I hear him clicking off. He's the star of the show.
You cheese, you fucking rat, son of a bitch.
Well, how could he be the rat and the cheese?
But
Yeah, he's
that beautiful voice you hear is our special guest, Professor Tom.
Thank you very much.
And Tom, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I know very little about him, but I do know that he knows a lot about history, and he writes articles, and that's about it. But you know what? Maybe you could do better at introducing yourself. Tom, can you introduce yourself to the audience out there?
Right now, I am exercising my God-given right as a red-blooded American to be unemployed.
Yeah, let's go. Woo! I feel that. It's
Earlier, Tom, you're talking about enjoying the taste of beer. I think that's just unemployment making you want to taste beer. You know that? I think it just comes with the territory.
Are you saying that I have a champagne taste but a beer pocketbook? Was that a backhanded compliment?
Yeah, take it as you will.
I'm not even on the show 5
I
minutes.
love beer. I love beer. I get paid $75 an hour and I still drink beer. I don't give a fuck. I love
And
it.
where are you stealing this beer from?
Nowhere. I steal it from my Kroger's.
Are you sure it's not bottled horse piss?
Fuck no. I'd never ever.
Never ever.
But I do get paid a good amount and I still drink beer. So it's not. Yeah, I'll drink champagne too. So hey, I got a taste for everything. But yeah, could you introduce yourself, Mr. Professor? What is it that you do? I see that you write articles because Mike did send me something.
Oh, wow.
What are your articles about? And also too, I think you're a history buff as well, no?
Yeah, so I'm a computer scientist by trade. That is to say, a programmer.
Ooh.
I'm a automated tester. I've never been employed as a developer, or at least not for long. So my code is always internal. And when the product code gets checked in, then my code will run and it'll make sure that it does what it's supposed to do, assuming they've communicated with me what the requirements are. But I do have an interest in history. World War II, some of it, like the beginning of the war, particularly the British-American alliance, in that leading up to the changing of the American notion of wanting to be isolated up to Pearl Harbor, things like the 40 ships, Lend-Lease, that kind of thing. Then I can sort of kind of follow some of the European stuff, but not all of it, certainly not the Eastern Front. Some Pacific, but not great at it. And I'm also interested in Western civilization history. So that would mean Greeks and Romans and how that gets translated to the Anglo-Saxons, how that becomes a whole thing with the monarchs in England, how that crosses the pond and eventually becomes the United States of America.
Damn.
I'm seeing a lot of things here. You're saying you like World War II, you like the Roman Empire and Western history. Mr. Tom, it's not looking good here. You're doing all the little dog whistles I've heard about, talking about the Roman Empire, World War II.
Is there a question coming?
No. I just think I think you're in the right place.
Well, I would like to state for the record that I'm slightly to the right of Genghis Khan.
Let me ask you something, Professor. Since you study history and you have a good balance of it, seeing how the country's heading and seeing our political landscape and everything that's going on, what do you realistically think is going to happen in the next election cycle? Like, depending on who wins, do you think we are at the great fall of the Roman Empire, or do you think that's just a bunch of hububcus?
It's really hard to tell. I think that if Kamala Harris wins, we're going to have more short-term misery. I think that's a given. That may be the case no matter who wins, because it's possible that if Trump wins, that we'll see a repeat of the Summer of Love from 2020. Although I kind of wonder, like, that was a special set of circumstances because you had the COVID lockdowns, you had the George Floyd situation, so you had a race angle to it. You had things like Chop and Chaz, and those ingredients aren't there this cycle. So it might just be a bunch of looting if Trump wins for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and then life may go on. I think that we'll be in a better position if Trump wins, because I think that I think that, you know, as a businessman, unless we get a Democrat Congress and a Republican White House, assuming that he doesn't get another Paul Ryan type Speaker of the House and can get his legislative agenda through, I think that we'll see business thrive in the United States, and I think that we'll be respected around the globe, or at the very least, we'll be taken seriously. You know, even if and I don't get this sense when I read the material that I read, but even if there were world leaders that thought that Trump was like Nixon 2.0 and that he was a madman with his finger on the button, even if they thought that he was insane, there would still be a fear, not cowering in the corner, but fear in terms of when that word is used to mean respect. So I think there would be we don't want to piss him off. Not that I think that Trump is looking to start wars. I don't think that's who Trump is, but I also think that he's been in business for a long time. He's a tough negotiator. So, you know, we'll see what lessons he's learned since he was president the first time and being in the wilderness for 4 years. Like, is he going to hire people that will, for lack of a better term, sandbag his second administration? You know, if he makes a bunch of bad hires, then that's going to be problematic. You know, the hubbub in conservative circles is that with the Trump Vance ticket, in 2028, Vance could then run for president, and if he had 2 terms, then you're looking at 12 years of conservative or Republican politics. Although it's not the Republican Party of our parents; it's the new Republican Party that, quite frankly, doesn't know what to do with Trump and hates Trump. But if Trump gets elected and serves his term, and then Vance gets elected behind him, I think that the party would have to morph. Because how do you survive 12, depending upon how you want to count, 16 years of the influence of somebody like Trump and not change the party platform?
Yeah, that is true. I think that's a lot of things that a lot of people aren't considering when it comes to this election cycle. I think that some people might just go based off of their emotions when it comes to voting and all that, right? But I think the bigger thing is like, at the end of the day, you know, for what it's worth, you know, everyone could vote emotionally and all that. And even given the circumstances right now that are happening in the South and all the southern states that got affected by the hurricane, and with another hurricane coming into the way, it's like, how is it that, you know, we are able to give so much money to Ukraine and Israel and all these other entities, right, that don't belong to the U.S., yet somehow the victims of those hurricanes only got $750, and that's all they're getting. So,
well, that if they get it, right? Because in order to get it, you had to go online and register, and there wasn't any cell service or internet service because everything was flooded. Kamala said that FEMA was going to go door to door. I don't know how the hell they were going to do that because they can't get to it because everything's flooded. And even if they wanted to go door to door, orders weren't being given for the National Guard or for FEMA to go in and start clearing, you know, paths to get to people, much less start to rebuild. So it's a political shit show. You have what happened in Hawaii. Was that last year?
With the fires.
With the fires, yeah.
And they were offered $700 a piece. I think that it's kind of a repeat of 1992. It's the economy, stupid. I think a lot of people.
I think the Americans should take up the cat diet, because I heard they're beginning $2,000 a month. I heard, you know, if you like munch on some cats, I heard. So I think we need to, like, you know, take that up, because obviously I heard a lot of methane gas and all that stuff, and we should not be eating meat and cows. But I don't think we got tons of cats. I think we should eat them, and then maybe we'll get more money that way.
Yeah, it used to be every young boy's dream to get paid to eat pussy. And now there's a golden opportunity.
And honestly, the people who are hating on the Haitians, they're just a bunch of angry white boys. All these black guys are eating pussy and getting paid. My God, I'm fucking jealous.
Right. And let's not forget that, what was it, 10, 15 years ago, we had the U2 concert. Bono was telling us that we had to give money to Haiti. We had President Bill Clinton and President George W. Bush, that's 43. They were both down there. We have the famous clip of Bush saying, I know some of you want to send blankets or water. Just send your cash. Like, how much fucking money did those two fucks steal, claiming that the money was going to Haiti, and it never got there? And then what did the Haitians get? They got, loads of Monsanto monster seeds that they instantly rejected and said, we don't want this shit.
What did they want? They want some 40s?
No, what they wanted was seeds that would actually be able to reproduce, not something that was genetically modified so that way it only worked for one growing season and then you had to buy seeds again.
Well, I mean, they don't understand how scams work, you know what? I like that they're ignorant in that fact. No, that's kind of endearing, kind of.
Well, I mean, it took them a decade and a half, but they finally figured out how the scam works, and now they've been brought into the country, and they're scamming Americans. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, they're evolving. I agree.
And Christians say that Charles Darwin was wrong.
Yeah, but boys, sorry to talk about the polit talk, but you know what? I want to get into a whine of mine that's been bothering me for a minute. So last episode, me and Jerry were talking. Unfortunately, Tom, I have bitch eyes. I have to wear glasses, and I don't like wearing glasses because I look gay, and I don't like looking gay. Like, I'm like, when you talk to me, you'll be like, this guy's pretty gay. But I at least want people to talk to me, think I'm straight, and then they're like, all right, this fucker's gay. But so I have to wear glasses now because I have to drive, and my eyes are really dog shit, so I have to fucking wear glasses. And I've been wearing the most ridiculous looking glasses ever. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go buy some prescription shades. I dropped quite a decent amount of money on them, and the insurance only covered like half of it. So got like $300 on these fucking glasses. And I was so proud of them. They're like some cop shades or aviators. They look fucking awesome. Like, I look like a fucking douche, and I love it. So I'm driving around my car looking like a douche now, and I could see perfectly. So I'm feeling good. Unfortunately, so I decided to go look in the mirror, and then I was wearing my glasses, and something dawned on me because I just recently shaved, so I have my stash and I have my glasses, and all I could do was impression
porno actor.
Do
you look like a 70s porno actor? Like, you got the stash, you got the aviators. Yeah. You clearly look like a pervert.
Yeah, like a pervert. I know. I'm glad. No, keep that, because the pervert thing. Because like, I look like a pervert. I look like a porn man. I look like a scumbag, and I like that. But then something recently has happened as of late. There's a Twitch streamer called Dr. Disrespect, and if you don't know who he is, he's some guy plays video games, and apparently he was a kitty diddler, and he wore glasses and had that fucking 80s porn stash. So I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, these fucking glasses are ruined. Like, I'm gonna be driving down the fucking school zone and kids will be screaming and fucking they'll think I'm a fucking sicko or pedophile now because I'm wearing these fucking glasses. So my whine is people fucking up looks. Like, earlier you were talking about World War II, and you know what? Hitler, obviously, hack joke, I know. But with the whole Hitler stash, that was a style. And he just ruined that shit completely. So now, if you have that little stash, you want to look cool, guess what? Nazi. And
but you know where Hitler got it from, right?
Who did he get it from?
Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, and he was a magician. He made the Jews disappear.
No. Charlie Chaplin was an actor.
Oh.
Yeah, Charlie Chaplin actually was a silent film actor. He actually did make the transition into talkies. He was actually in The Great Dictator, which was a mock film about Hitler and the Nazis.
Oh, nice. But dude, like, so, and this has got me thinking, like, obviously, and like, these glasses are now ruined because now it's like Dr. Disrespect shade. So now, like, pedophile, right? And so then I was going down about it because I recently saw some guy at the DMV. He was wearing a badass trench coat. I'm like, dude, that guy looks badass. But then in my back of my head, I'm like, that's like a school shooter jacket. Like, why is he wearing a school shooter jacket? And so those retarded kids, they ruined trench coats. And then I was thinking about this. I'm like, what else has been ruined? And I was thinking about it. Jerry, I know you're with me 100% on this. Like, I like the goth girls, I like the emo girls, and they have that
Lord.
beautiful dyed hair. They look good, right?
Mm.
But what is now dyed hair associated with now?
Those fucking retards that want to be they thems. That's right.
Poison frogs,
Exactly.
Mhm.
poison plants.
Yeah.
Right. In nature, if something is that exotic of a color, sometimes it's signaling to the rest of the world that it's poisonous and you should just leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Tom, we ingest things that aren't good for us, like capsaicin, a spicy plant. It's not meant for human consumption. In fact, it's spicy to ward off things from eating it, and we enjoy that. And me, I enjoy pain, so it's like, yeah, I like that. But then, because I'm a metalhead, and you know what? I see a girl with dyed hair, and it took me a while to get out of this because I see a bitch with dyed hair. I'm like, oh hey, what kind of metal you like? What kind of music you like? Oh, I like listening to Karl Marx the band. It's like, the fuck, bitch? Like, you can't even do that. And also, one of the worst offenders, man, is tomboys, like girls with short hair. Sometimes girls with short hair, fucking ugly and gross. But you know what? When they're hot and they have that short hair, you're like, oh man, like
The girls that can pull it off. But
Yeah.
let me, since I'm a slightly older guy, let me tell you, there is hope. One day you'll be old. You won't care about this shit. It'll be like you took 10,000 milligrams of fuck it all.
All right.
You just won't care. It doesn't matter what she looks like. It's not going to happen. She's going to run her fucking mouth and ruin it. I'm just going to stay on the porch, read a book, watch the sunset, drink beer.
You're right. You are very right, Professor. Women in their goddamn mouths fucking and ruining shit. So, yeah.
What was the line from House? Women, you can't live with them. You can't kill them until the neighbors are stripping in Vegas.
Like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm investing in the future because a lot of people, they're saying like, these trans people, and people want to kill the trans. I'm like, you know what? It's the science isn't there yet. Like, until we can perfect that, like, because like, 'cause some of them could pass and they're like, oh, that's nice. But then, like, sometimes I think about like, man, I don't like talking to bros. Ugh, they disgust me. But then it's like, you see a trans, like, oh, that's passable. Then I see the dick, and I was like, well, can't get behind that. I can only get in front of that, and I'm not with that.
Do you ever feel like you're was it Quagmire in Family Guy?
Sometimes.
You know the scene I'm talking about, right? Whoa, back off, transvestite. Wait, stop.
Yeah, pre or post?
Transvestite.
No, because dude, you seen those pussies? I don't know if you've seen them. They look fucked. Like it just looks like I know like a lot of people said axe wound for many years. Like, oh, like man, look at her axe wound. Now that shit looks like an axe wound. It looks like some fucking Viking just straight up just slammed it into it. Like it's just fucked. And even when it comes to the opposite end, like maybe you're a chick listening right now, and for some reason you like the show, and you want dick, but you don't like the man brain. You don't like the shit we say, so you want to get with a woman who became a man. And those dicks look fucked up. And also they have like half a missing arm because he's ripped the fucking shit off. It just looks gross. The technology is not there, and I wish maybe in the future it would evolve. But yeah, that's my whine, dude. Just people ruining looks. Like, God. I love the shades too, because I look like a fucking douchebag. And the thing too, I got like a leather jacket too, and I look cool in it in my own way. Basically, I look like a douche. I'm like in this leather jacket with these glasses. I'm like, oh, I look like an 80s asshole. But now it's associated. Now I look like a fucking 2020 fucking pedophile, apparently.
Here's what you do. You shave the stash, you sell the glasses, you sell the jacket, you stay the fuck home.
I hate being home though. Because when I'm home, I'm alone in my thoughts. And when I'm alone in my thoughts, I record podcasts and say horrible things.
What? And given a long enough timeline, your survival rate will eventually go to 0. The problem will solve itself.
Ain't lying.
Shit. How about you boys? You have anything to whine about? Like, I feel like I've been whining all day right now.
I want to hear the professor's one. Yeah, go for it, Professor.
Oh man, this is going to be very, very pedantic. It's going to be very James Mayish. Um, but what grinds my gears is in the year of our Lord 2024, people are still putting two spaces after punctuation at the end of sentences.
I
Illiteracy.
wonder who you're talking about. I wonder who.
Well, there's a reason this annoys me, and the reason is this:
You're a writer?
learned how to. Well, it's not because I'm a writer per se. It's actually because I have a tiny bit of edumacation.
What's that?
I know. So I actually learned how to type on a typewriter. It was a Corona Smith. It was an electric typewriter, so it wasn't manual. And I actually learned to type out of a book. It was a hardcover book, but the spine wasn't on the side; it was on the top, and it could fold over on itself and support itself like an easel. And the pages were both front and back. And so you just type what was on the page. You read it. Did whatever. But the reason that in the days of yore, people put two spaces after punctuation at the end of sentences is that typewriters had what was called a monospace font, meaning that the height and the width, particularly the width, was the same for every character. So in order to help the eye find where the end of the sentence was, you put two spaces at the end of a sentence. But when you started to do word processing on a computer where you actually had variable fonts and they were design fonts and they didn't have to be monowidth fonts, you only put one space at the end of a sentence. But still, to this day, people are using computers and putting two spaces at the end of every sentence. And it looks fucking retarded.
It does look retarded. And I apologize.
I think I don't know. I think I don't know. It's weird because I've sent you my notes, Mike. So I don't ever write like that, or I don't think I do. I definitely think the only time like I double space, or maybe I'll use the tab features to start a brand new paragraph, or even then, it's not like so much a brand new paragraph, but like what's that shit called?
Well, no,
it's not a paragraph, but it's like basically the second part of whatever comes next. I don't know the proper term for it, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you see it more because you wrote the way you wrote, and now you see it and you see it as unnecessary spacing, right?
Are you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it annoys me because I actually took a desktop publishing course, which this was 20 years ago. It was a 2-week course, and at the time, people were saying you had 2 weeks of training on desktop publishing. Like they thought it was almost like having a degree in the subject. Which, ironically enough, you can now get a degree in, if not desktop publishing, something very field adjacent. And one of the books that we used in our training was by Robin Williams, not the actor. It's actually a female. And her. And she's written many books. She wrote the Non-Designer's Design Guide. But the book that really explained this was The PC is Not a Typewriter. And she explained this whole thing about fonts and how they're designed. And because you're not on a typewriter anymore where you only have monospaced fonts, you don't need two spaces between the sentences. Now, you were talking about doing indentation. In school, like say college, indentation, I believe, is taught in, I think it's in MLA. I'm pretty sure it's in Chicago style. And I can't remember if it's an APA or not. And the reason they do that is that they make you put two, they make you change the spacing between lines to be 2 line height. And the reason for that is what they're wanting is a manuscript that can be printed so that they can put all their typographical marks on it in pen to then hand it back to you and say, revise this draft, which actually makes sense if you're talking about submitting to a journal. Now, when you're submitting homework to a professor, at least in undergrad, I very rarely have seen papers come back and they be marked up and they, the professor say, revise all this stuff with proper typographical marks on it. So if you think about particularly the web, the way that you indicate a new paragraph is just by having a blank line between paragraphs. And then usually the paragraphs are left aligned. If you're doing some funny design work on the web, then you can do tab stuff. But if you pick up, say, a novel or a nonfiction book, like say a biography, you'll see that those paragraphs are indented, and they usually don't have spacing between the paragraphs. And I think the reason for that is just to shorten up the book, because all those additional lines across even a smallish book can be 3 or 4 extra pages, and that's extra money.
Yeah, you get charged by the page, especially when you're printing shit out.
Right. I mean, because you literally would have to use more physical paper. Now, when you get into ebooks, and what is an ebook? I don't consider PDFs to be ebooks, because I think that they're digital analogs of the analog, meaning that they're a digital representation of what it would actually look like if you had the physical product in front of you. But when you get into reflowable formats like Mobi or EPUB, at that point you can choose, and it's really more of an aesthetic thing. You can do the tabs for new paragraphs, but you can just as easily put spaces between paragraphs. And whether you're on an e-ink device or if you're on a tablet and there's only one tablet of note and that's the iPad, like there's enough design in those products, or there's enough resolution that you can, either way you do it, it makes sense. And so like you don't need as much visual separate. I can't even say the word now. Separation as you used to. If you were actually printing stuff out to be proofed for a journal or to then get typeset for a book.
So what's kind of crazy to me, Tom? I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, but so recently, I went to a concert, and then it was like near a university, and so I was drunk, and so I do what every drunk person does responsibly. I drove to a Denny's while drunk to sober up. And this is like on a university campus.
That you say piss in the corner.
Well, I mean, that happened a little later. Let's not get into that. But so I went in, and I guess they have like a lot of stuff like from, because they have like a university, because they're promoting like, go California Cancer College, whatever. But so, and one of the things was like they had like some of the works by the students, and the penmanship on their fucking what they wrote and like the things they made were atrocious. They look like a bunch of toddlers had made these things and they're written out, and they just look so bad. And like you said, like our generation, like they suck when it comes to typing and writing, because obviously nowadays we're not teaching writing class. Like when I was younger, I was probably the last of like the generation who had to like learn cursive, learn how to write, do all that stuff. And it's kind of surprising that nowadays like typing class isn't a thing at all. Even if it is, it's not working, because I read these retards messages online, and it's just insane to me. There's no punctuation, there's nothing, no quotation, nothing at all.
Mike, what year did you graduate?
God damn.
Okay, so remember, mommy took you to school every day. She held your hand. That was called
94. So let's go back to the year of 94. I was born, I was a wee lad, 94.
Oh,
yeah, so you graduated like 2010 around there, no?
Yeah, something. I don't remember.
Because I was gonna say, because when I graduated class of 2016, right? But we still had, it wasn't like typing class like per se, like how the professor had it, but we had something called financial literacy or some bullshit along those lines. And you're basically inside of a fucking a room, and you learned how to type out emails, you learned how to do graphs, but it was basically everything digital. But it wasn't like necessarily what you had. And also too, what I wanted to add is I also know how to write in cursive and all that, but I asked my cousins, because they're smaller than me and whatever the fuck, right? And I wrote in cursive in front of them, and they looked at it and they're like, what's that? I'm like, oh, cursive. I'm like, you don't know how to read it. And they're like, nah, we don't know how to do that. Because apparently from what they told me is that when they were in school, they have like big ass iPads now in like the middle of their room. And I'm like when they said that, I was like, bro, that's insane. Like the fact that you learn through a fucking iPad. Yeah, it's trippy as fuck.
Yeah.
So why do we even have teachers? Like, because we got these retards who are like, our age, 26, 25, and they're just like making kids more retarded. And like, it's kind of obvious it is, because the literacy and this is kind of insane, because they were doing, I was reading some kind of like study and all that stuff, that a lot of people our age, or sorry, like 26 in their 20s, don't have reading comprehension. And it would be something as simple as like you get a note. It's like, oh, hello, so and so. Classes start at 10 o'clock or whatever. Blah 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 blah, and they cannot repeat what time is said to meet or whatever in this document. Like I think like 60% of people failed that because like there's no reading comprehension anymore. Like a lot of them, they read the words on the page, but they don't understand what the words mean. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can teach a parrot to say things, but the parrot doesn't understand what it's saying. And that's just a thing that's happening now with this generation.
I think you mentioned several different things, and I think it's worth teasing them apart. So you want to talk about people writing online and not using proper punctuation or not spelling things out. Like text speak was a thing, right? And the reason for that is that you had to send text messages with T9. So you didn't have a keyboard like you did on the BlackBerry when it was physical. And then, it was 2007 before we got the iPhone. And it took that a couple of years to mature and certainly to become ubiquitous. So people were typing as little as possible because, if they had to spell a big word and they didn't know how to spell it, or if they were just trying to communicate as quickly as possible, they would shorten stuff up. And that's where you also got leet speak from, which is kind of interesting because you would expect that programmers would know how to type and therefore they would type things out. But, if you go back to, and this is a bit unfair and there's historical reasons for this. If you look at like when the C programming language was invented, or even the Unix commands, there's a reason those commands or those function names were really, really short. And that was, they didn't want to do a lot of typing, but it was because the computers themselves didn't have a lot of memory. So you have to deal with that whole culture. Then as dictation gets added to the iPhone and it gets better, people start dictating all the time and you got all the autocorrect stuff. And on a small device like that, you're just not going to sit there and type stuff out. And then I think what happened is you had people that were on their phones that got on social media and maybe they didn't know how to type. Even though what I told you earlier is true about how I learned how to type, I actually forgot how to type because I didn't type for several months. And then I finally got a computer and I had to relearn again. But I didn't really, really, really learn how to type, if this makes any sense. And I'm leaning on the word learn to do a lot of work here. Until I was in college, my second year in the dorm room, and I was on a thing called AIM, or AOL Instant Messenger. And when you're on AIM, or if you're in IRC and you're trying to have multiple conversations at the same time, you learn how to type so you can keep up. So there's that. And then when you talk about reading comprehension, people have always been dyslexic. I mean, that's always been a thing in humanity, at least since people have been literate. I think that these days we probably overemphasize and over-index on, I don't want to call them mental disorders, but we'll say mental
retardation.
It's not necessarily a retardation. I think that we have created a lot of problems in society and we have low societal expectations. Then you add to that, if you're in an urban area, one would expect that public education would not be as great unless it's in the affluent section of town. So whether it comes from a race thing or whether it comes from a poverty thing and the teachers aren't getting paid enough and the principal isn't getting paid enough and nobody cares to educate the kids, the end result is that the kids aren't educated because they aren't disciplined or they can't be disciplined. And consequently, you end up with people that allegedly can't read their own high school diploma.
I think,
like me.
Let me add my 2 cents to this because this speaks volumes to where I'm from and where I grew up at. My school district was really underfunded. Like it was a surprise, right? And we would always ask our teachers because it was out of curiosity because it was a town mostly filled with Hispanics and blacks, right?
Oh wow.
And we'd always ask our teachers, we're like, why do you teach here? Like, why? You could have chose any other school, any other district that would pay you way more, and they would treat you better. But why did you choose to come to our town, right?
Mhm.
And our teachers would always say, like, the only reason that I'm taking this job is because I actually want to make a difference in the world. Like, I want to make a difference in people's lives, and I want to teach you guys, shit that you'll need in the future. And I think a lot of people, they scoff that off as like, she's just doing her job, or oh, they're just doing their job, right? But I think when you've, at least in my perspective, right, when you've had like shortcomings your whole life, and then you have someone that's willing to put their time, because really it's their career, because again, they don't have to teach in the township, right? And you're willing to see them, and they actually give a fuck about you, and they're there, and they're not annoying you because they want to be annoying. Like, they actually care that you get an education. I think that's what makes a lasting impression on like a moldable mind, and that's what makes people push forward and strive to get better. And I can't sit here and tell y'all every single name and every single person that I met. Like, I won't. That's physically impossible. But I could tell you all my teachers' names that actually like contributed something, and they left a lasting impression on me. And it's because of those type of people that it's like, no, you should take English series, or you should take math and physics and all this other bullshit series, because they took time out of their day to teach you. But I think the issue that is that a lot of motherfuckers, they're just ignorant. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of motherfuckers, they're just because like you're poor or you came up from a certain demographic, people are like, oh well, I ain't gonna be shit and blah blah blah, and they put that to the world. But it's like at least for me, the way I always thought, it's like, dude, like, she took her time and she didn't have to teach here at all, because they don't. They still choose that because they actually want to do something with their jobs, compared to other teachers that are in different schools, and they don't give a fuck about the kids, because like, well, the kids are well off, it doesn't really matter. But then the teachers that do go to the fucked up districts, and if they try, and also too, I think it really comes down to the students too. If you meet halfway, it actually makes a difference and makes people push towards better things in life. But I don't know, that's just my 2 cents. Like, the way you were saying it, I was like, oh shit, like, I feel that, because I was in that position. Shout out to Mr. Lee, by the way. Yeah.
So I was born in a suburb of Chicago, and that's where I spent the first couple of years when I was in public school. And then I moved. Eventually, I had a period of time in Mississippi. And so there was inner city stuff. I don't really remember it in Chicago as much because I was super young. So that was like kindergarten, first grade. I was in third grade when I was in Mississippi. And I know that we were in a very rural area. It was high poverty. The school, I thought even at the time, was shit. Just in terms of like, it was dilapidated buildings. And I know that I remember there being a lot of blacks in my class. So I kind of wonder, how either the socioeconomic thing would have played in. As an adult, I have read, and I don't know how true this is. And I don't know, where geographically this may occur, but that there can even be a culture, at least in some parts of the black community, where the kids will be told, well, you don't want to go to school and learn how to read and write and do math because that would make you too white.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was literally gonna say that. Like, yeah,
that was gonna be my joke. I was waiting to inject that joke in. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, but it's on some G shit. Like, some dumb motherfuckers will sit in the hood the whole day talking about, yeah, I ain't trying to be white. But it's like, you dumb motherfucker. It's not about being white. It's about being educated. Like, that's the difference that some dumb hood motherfuckers do not realize, and that's the truth. Like, I say this to say this, Mr. Professor. I don't know if you read all the podcasts, if you heard a bunch of episodes, but it's like, not for nothing, like, the way I come off, the way I am, it's like, I'm really from the fucking slums. Like, that's just what it is, right? But also, too, just because of the fact that I was born there and I was raised there and I grew up and saw a bunch of bullshit my whole life, it didn't make me determined to be like, alright, this is what I'm going to be my whole life. Like, literally right now, I'm one of the only few people from my township that could confidently say here and say this now, that I make $75 an hour.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, it's cool, and it feels nice, right?
Mhm.
But other people from my town, they don't have that. And some people still live in the same neighborhoods. They still do the same bullshit. And they repeat the cycle. And again, some people, like, they see me and they're like, oh, you made it out the hood and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, yeah, I did. But you don't understand the sacrifice that had to get made to get out of those situations. But also, too, a lot of people, they'll sit there and they'll fucking say the dumbest shit, which to me, it's fucking dumb. It's like, oh, well, you want to be white so bad. It's like, bro, being educated, having a good life, and being able to go on vacations isn't white. That's just a human thing. That's an American thing to want to do. So if it means that by me choosing myself and choosing my education and choosing my career to be a better person, right, to get things that my family didn't have before, if that means being white to you, then fuck it. It is what it is. But that is a thing that some people see, and it's not like it's some make believe bullshit. No, it's true. Like, some people, I guess, being educated is like, oh, well, you want to be white, but it's like, how's being educated being white? Like, that's the thing I never understood.
I don't think, even though they say it's being white, I think what they're really trying to communicate is it's non-black.
Mm.
And while I think it's a bit cliched to think about urban blacks being proportionately on welfare, or having a higher proportion of the black community in an urban setting being on welfare. I mean, you white trash as a term exists for a reason, right? Or trailer trash, which to me is the same thing, but I don't know. I'm from Alabama.
That's average minority.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that if you're living in poverty and if the government's sending you a check every month, where's your incentive to do better? If you do nothing, that check is going to come in. Now, you're going to be limited to a certain lifestyle, but if it's the only thing you've known, why bother trying to improve it? Because if you try and fail, now you're a failure and you're no better off. And you have to deal with that humiliation.
I think what it comes down to is how bad do you really want it? Because a lot of people say that they want it bad, and this is something that me and my cousin say all the time, because we would drive around our neighborhoods and all that, right? And we would see the same dumb motherfuckers standing outside in the corner just bullshitting their whole lives, and we'd see their stories on Snapchat or Instagram, and they would post like, oh, getting it out the mud, blah, 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 or some stupid shit along those lines, right? And it's like, you literally could get a job whenever you want. You could literally go apply wherever the fuck you want, but you choose not to because, quote unquote, nah, they're not going to hire me because I'm black or I'm fucking Hispanic or I'm Puerto Rican and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that's not a fucking thing. And it's really not. If anything, where I'm from, they honestly want more Hispanics than blacks because they use them as workhorses. So, the opportunity is there. But I think what it really comes down to at the end of the day, and this isn't so much a racial thing, I think it just comes down, it's a human thing. How bad do you want to be successful? Whether that means turning back on your own people, allegedly, right? And doing X, Y, and Z, then that's what it means. But some people that are so stuck in their hood mentality, they can't see above that. And they're like, nah, because if I do this, then I'm gonna be like the white man. But it's like, dude, like if again, people don't know this, and this is just a fact. But one of the richest people in the world is a Mexican man. Yeah. So him, yeah. And it's like, is he white? No, he's Mexican. It's just he wants it out the mud. He'll do whatever it takes. You
want a shocker? Unless stuff has changed and I just don't know it. Do you know that the richest man in the world is an African?
I wouldn't be surprised at this point. No,
that's scamming all the years. Emails.
No, it's not.
Be like him, right?
No, Elon Musk.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. See, and even then, there's a connotation. You think African? You just think.
How dare you? I don't count.
Let me ask you a question. In your community, what was seen as like the top? And I have two things in mind. But what was seen as like the number 1, 2, or 3 way to get out of the hood?
You play sports for sure. You get a college degree to get sports. You're either like one of the rare eggheads that you see that they're just smart as shit, and like you kind of expect them to go to college, as I do go to college. Get the fuck from this bullshit. Or if I, at least within Hispanics and blacks, I can't really speak so much on other races, right? But it's like you'll make some type of music or you'll make some type of entertainment that will get you the fuck from there. That's the only ways that I've gone it. And also, I mean, you can sell drugs and shit, but I mean, realistically, you're selling them in a small pond. Hood. Yeah, like you ain't gonna do shit with that. So no.
Yeah, it's just that's I actually didn't even think about a college degree. I was expecting drugs and rap in particular, but that was probably because I was thinking more black instead of more poverty. I could see music or in general entertainment, probably not actor, because you probably have to be in a metro where there's already a thriving film industry, i.e. New York, LA, maybe Florida.
I know a lot of them, they become like character actors. So it's just like, yeah, just be yourself. Yeah, just go be your hood self. And it's like, well, that's limited. That's limited roles right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but how cliched is the writing in Hollywood?
That's true. I mean,
it's pretty cliche. Every fucking Hispanic movie or every person that's in a movie and they're Hispanic, they always got to say that stupid bullshit. Órale, loco. They always like, it's so cringy. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's cringy. Fuck them Hollywood writers. They
fucking stink.
Just out of curiosity, what did you guys think of Better Call Saul?
It was pretty good. I like it.
I've never seen it, to be honest, so I mostly work. So
well, the reason I was asking is that I know that there's a lot of Spanish in there, and I was kind of wondering how cliched that was, because I thought it was an edgy show, but I'm also a stupid American.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that terrible. Nah, like there were some points that were pretty good, but like I said, it wasn't atrocious. Like, dude, like sometimes they're just atrocious, like Mexican caricatures. They're just like, shut up. But I mean, they did it quite all right.
I mean, because another thought that I had earlier when I was thinking about, like say trying to get out of the hood, is I was thinking about looking through the looking glass the other way. In other words, if you think about what kind of content is pumped into America, or maybe I should say used to be, because with cord cutting, you sort of kind of have a choice. But I'm thinking like, sitcoms, or what kind of television or entertainment in what the message was or is to kids across America. I mean, I know that when I was young, particularly when I was in the Chicago suburbs, in the 90s, everybody wanted to be black. And by that,
really? In the 90s?
Yeah, I'm not saying that they wanted to be pigmented, but they wanted to emulate rappers or black stereotypes that they were seeing on television.
All the wiggers.
Yeah, I want to. I don't think that Steve Urkel would be the right.
No.
But just that whole, I'm going to have bitches and hoes, and I'm going to do drugs, and I'm going to have chains, and I'm going to dress like a pimp, and I'm going to have,
that sounds awesome. I mean, who wouldn't want that? Dress awesome, get bitches and hoes? What the fuck?
Well, there's a, I don't know if this is the right term, but kind of thug life.
Well, like that's the appropriate.
Yeah. He's loud.
If you're the thuggiest thug, right? If everybody fears you, if you're at the top of the food chain, fair enough. But people don't make it to the top of the food chain, right? Or I mean, not statistically.
Nah, because motherfuckers always trying to prove something else. Like, it's just like it's a dog eat dog world. Like, yeah, someone thinks it's shit, but then someone's like, no, I'm better than that motherfucker. So there's actively like
it's a competition. It's literally a competition to see who's gonna be at the top. Yeah, that's what it is, though. Just straight up.
And by the way, and it turns out you're on the top of fucking nothing. You're guarding a block that belongs to the city and the government. Wow, amazing.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen all 5 seasons of The Wire, and that seemed very realistic to me. Like you've got problems, and those problems never seem to get better. They just kind of move around the city if you're lucky.
This is a thing that I've noticed, at least throughout my lifetime, right? That this is a thing that I had to come to terms with and shit when it came to a relationship that I had with one of my exes. But I used to tell her that like, oh, you don't understand the position I'm in because I'm in charge of blah 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 and so many people, blah blah, right?
Right.
And depending on where you went to in Jersey, like you could honestly say like the name that I go by, like when it came to like street politics and shit, and people would know me. Like people would actually be like, "Oh yeah, I know him," or "Oh yeah, like my boy could vouch for him," blah blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to an extent that gives you a sense of power, and it does, because it does. Like, some people know you, like certain people know you, and it's like those are people that most people don't want anything to do with, or it's people that you know damn well you shouldn't be fucking with, because that's its own term, you know, whatever the case is, right? And she hit me with this reality fact, and she said, well, it's cool that you're known by all these hood motherfuckers, but when you leave Jersey, who the fuck actually knows you?
Right. Yeah.
And it was a reality check that I never had to that point of time, because again, my whole thing was I was going to stay in Jersey my whole life, apparently, right? That's something that I wanted, because again, I'm comfortable and people know me and blah blah blah. But when she said that, she had a validity to it, and it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, obviously at the time I didn't see it, and I got upset. It's like, well, what the fuck would you know, blah blah blah. But it's the truth. It's like, yeah, you might be this hood legend, and people might know you and people might respect you and all this bullshit. But it's like, as soon as you step out of the state, or as soon as you step out of that lifestyle, or that ecosystem, you're a fucking no one. And that's just the fact of the matter. You know, like, yeah, someone could fucking have all this money and all this respect by hood motherfuckers, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, if you go to Chicago, you go to New York, and you say your name, people are gonna be like, man, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? So
even take somebody like Whitey Bulger, who was in South Boston.
Who was black, mind you?
What?
Oh wait, no, I'll see what's going on. Sorry, go ahead. I'll see what the yeah, go ahead.
No,
Never mind.
It was Irish Mafia, but like if he would have went, people might have known him on the north side, but like he didn't have any power or influence on the north side. It would be just like if you, probably should pick a better example, but like if you ran Harlem and then you tried to go to the Bronx, like you have no influence there. People might know you by reputation, and you might get some deference, but it's certainly not going to be the same kind of fear that people would have of you if you were in Harlem.
Yeah.
And
it still applies to this day, though, because like if you go to, I'm not gonna say names, but if you go to Brooklyn and you're walking around, people are gonna ask you, hey, where are you from, right? Yep. And let's say you say one of my people's name, like his name, you say his name. And the thing is, they'll call him on the spot and be like, hey, do you know this person? And if he says like, yeah, I don't know who the fuck that is, then you just set yourself up for some like fucked up shit, because then people are really gonna fuck you up. But also too, it's like, again, it's this whole ecosystem, and it's like, you think you have power and you think you have everything and some, right?
Right.
But when you break it down, it's like you're literally insignificant to top players, like let's say Elon Musk or fucking Bill and all these people that actually make like fuck you money. Like, to them, you're a speck of dust. And it's like yeah, I get it. It's cool to have power, and it's cool to think like you're above the law within your own ecosystem. But realistically speaking, that ecosystem is a small fucking pond in a bigger lake, and that lake is minuscule to the ocean, you know? So, oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was thinking about Bumpy Johnson, by the way. That's what I was thinking about. I apologize. I was thinking about Whitey Bulger, Bumpy Johnson. So,
well, I was thinking of oh God, what's the last name? Frank Lucas, right? American Gangster.
I was gonna say Frank Ocean, bro.
No. That was the guy that robbed the casino.
Oh man. Woo.
You know what, Tom? You should go on Jerry's podcast. You know, like I'm actually more interested to hear about this, because this podcast is not like, this is like legitimate, like real talk. Like our show is like retarded, and I'm pretty sure all the retards tune out now. But you know, this is a proper educational episode, because every time I always say we're educating the people, which I mean we're really not. That's what we are. But you know what? Actually, fun, interesting facts. Like, yeah,
the old show Top Gear, which was a car show, won an award for being a factual program, despite the fact that they hadn't put any facts in the show. So, you know, you're educating people without providing any education, which means that you're actually competing against the territory and mandate and job of public education.
Yeah, Mike.
Right.
We did something.
Better than, see, we're making a difference in the hood. You know, they should be playing this in public schools right now. You know that?
Yes, Lord.
Oh my God, we're better than any fucking 25-year-old cunt who just got out of college and wants to spew fucking bullshit to the kids. You know what? dare I say, we might be better than that iPad who's not even teaching them how to type. Dare I say?
You know what's crazy about the iPad situation though? Let me bring it back to that.
Mhm.
They don't know how to write cursive on the iPad, which is fucking. Hold on. Wait, I'll be back.
Yeah, but to go on about the cursive thing, so co-host Cheese, you heard him previously. We were just randomly having a conversation, and I talked about cursive. He's like, "What's that?" And he's just autistic. I was like, "Well, dude, don't you fucking like sign checks or anything, money orders, anything?" No. And it's like, well, how the fuck do you not know how to do it? Like, I don't know if like cursive will just be like a secret language maybe later down in life, but I mean,
No, I actually read that it's starting to get taught again in school, and I can't
Really?
remember the reason. Yeah, I can't remember the reason why. I don't know if it was just because people couldn't read it. I think it was because, like, do you know why cursive exists?
no. I just know I did it.
It exists because allegedly you can write faster in cursive.
Oh yeah,
Or
you can because it's least to pick. You're not picking up your pencil as much to do it. It's just like a full straight through.
But I always struggled because I never had good penmanship, and I've tried to get better at it. I actually bought some fountain pens and was writing on paper, on a semi-regular basis, like journaling stuff, and then I got out of it. The reason that most doctors' handwriting looks like shit, I think, is that they're thinking really quickly and they're thinking faster than they can write.
Yeah.
And they never had to learn penmanship, or even if they did, like when you're filling out those charts, the person that took me in, he was a physician, and I want to say on his best, and that's in air quotes, day, he saw something like 110, 112, 114 patients. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah. It is.
So you can only imagine what his charts looked like. But that's also, I think, why females tend to have better handwriting. Like, I think there's a whole social thing to it. But
because women don't think, is that why they're better at handwriting?
No, I think that they learn to take their time, but they're also tend to be more expressive. They have a greater capacity for verbal or textual thought.
But you know what? I'm glad that you gave me a good excuse, because anytime someone's gonna say my handwriting shit, I'm like, oh, I just think faster than you, idiot. That's gonna be my newest excuse. So I thank you for that.
Well, it's not that you're thinking faster than somebody else. It's that you're thinking faster than your hand can move.
Nah, I'm just gonna say that. And that's why I slur. It's because, I'm thinking so fast that, I can't get the words out right. It's not because I'm drunk.
I was gonna say it could also be because you're drunk.
No, not at all. I'm just thinking too fast. You gotta be on my level, bro. Come on. Well, yeah, you were saying, Jerry, you were talking about the cursive thing.
Yeah. No, I found it interesting that my cousins, they have that big ass iPad in the middle of their class and all that, and they know how to type out, or not type out. They know how to write the regular English font, which is standard, basically at anything at this point. But when it comes to cursive, that's something that I feel like they don't teach anymore, because again, it was kind of like a shock to me to know that they're like, oh, what is that? Like, they genuinely seemed confused by what I was doing, and they thought that I was just writing like witchcraft. And I'm like, nah, dude, like, this is cursive. Like, people write like this. And they looked at it, they're like, I don't know. They're like, we've never seen that before. And it was a trip. It was like, what the fuck? Like, how is it that you have technology, all this shit? Like, honestly, I think my cousins know how to operate the fucking iPhone better than me at this point. Like, they know shit that I don't know. But yeah, when it comes to cursive, they're like, yeah, hieroglyphics. Like, I don't know, it's insane.
I think that there's an additional reason why, and I don't know if you heard it or not when you left. I have read that cursive is starting to be taught in schools again. But something that I think that we lack here in the United States, that depending upon where you go around the world, it's actually part of their culture, particularly in Asian cultures. We also lack a thing called calligraphy.
Okay.
So, there's penmanship, which means that it's legible and it's readable, that it's glanceable. You can distinguish what the word is supposed to be. But then there's, when you get into all of, say, the serifs, which you would see that in the United States if you're talking about font design. But like calligraphy is not something that was ever heavily taught, or if it was, it certainly wasn't taught heavily in my lifetime. And when you start to put those little accents on each of your characters, it's now you're creating an art. It's not just about communicating a message. And historically, Americans have been a very pragmatic people. So we don't learn something because we want to learn it just to learn it, which is a very European thing to do. We learn something to put that knowledge to use so that we can achieve some other goal.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and consequently, I think that we've lost that art, particularly since we got into the digital age, which is ironic because the reason that the Macintosh was heavily into desktop publishing and why it had a bunch of fonts early on and why you did layout on a Macintosh and not a Windows machine was that Steve Jobs, when he dropped out of his classes, he started just wandering into other classes on campus. And one of the classes he walked into was calligraphy. And so he learned about fonts and he learned about textual design. So when they made the Macintosh, he wanted to make sure that you could make these beautiful creations, publications on his computer. And that's why the Macintosh has always had a design to it, both the Macintosh itself and the operating system, but then also it had that relationship with print media.
So another thing, bring it back to the cursive. It's kind of insane that a lot of people don't know the cursive for the fact that now we're kind of more on the digital age and we're using credit cards and debit cards a lot more. But what did we always do after we pay for something with a credit or debit card? We have to sign a signature. And so I'm quite curious.
Do a squiggly, bro. That's it. I'll do it. That's it.
Yeah, but because I always wonder what if someone younger than me, I kind of want to now look at their handwriting and what they write. Because me, I write my name in fucking cursive, and that's the only time my writing looks good is in cursive. My fucking normal handwriting's dog shit. Even my cursive's dog shit. Yeah.
A long time ago, so I used to sign my full name, and I have a longish last name. And I just got sick and tired of having to write that much. So my signature is now just my initials.
Huh.
And I've got a friend, his dad, or somebody that his dad worked with. He would always make these little drawings when he would sign for something for the business instead of a signature. And I forget all the details of the story, but somebody called him in and said, what are all these chickens that you're drawing on the receipt? They said, they're not chickens, they're ducks.
It's amazing.
That reminds you of the Japanese thing. You know how in Japan they have this thing where they basically have this little button and you press the button on some ink and every time you have to sign for paperwork, here whenever you write a contract or you sign something new, you have to have your print name and then your signature, right? Over there they have little stamps that they use. And they'll pay someone X amount of money to make them their own personal stamp. But in foreign countries, that's a thing. They use stamps till this day. And it's insane. I don't know why that reminded me of that. The little ducks, oh yeah, well you just have a stamp for your name. That's pretty cool.
I mean, that should make sense, right? Because if we were to move to the British Isles, what would we expect to see that would be similar to stamps?
Do they still use the wax and the stamp thing or no?
Occasionally. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a heavily used thing. I think it's more of a I want to show off or this is a special letter kind of thing.
Posh.
Yeah, or you might see that on a wedding invitation, something like that. But I didn't think about those, but that's actually a good but coats of armor, right? That's more a family thing versus an individual thing, but you can kind of see how it's a related concept, right?
Yeah.
It's an identifying mark. And you're right. I think that a seal, particularly if we think of, here in the United States, we might think of a state seal or a federal seal. like when you get something notarized. But it would be the same concept if you were doing that in wax. And I would expect that in the Western world, whatever they were punching into the wax was probably their family coat of arms.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm guessing. I could be wrong. It would make sense, right?
You're cooking right now, Professor. You are cooking. Yes, Lord.
Yeah.
I fuck with it. Yeah.
You know, the problem is that your regular listeners they're going to load this episode into their podcast app.
Yeah, they're like, they haven't uploaded in a while. Wow, what are the boys up to? It's like, we're learning about writing. Taking a writing class. I'm like, boring.
Yeah. Hey, look.
But this is a proper educational episode because you know what? There's no cheese here, so like, I'm trying to be retarded. Like, I'm trying to like throw in like a non sequitur that's stupid, but I can't do it. Like, I don't want to do that. But you know what?
But Boomer Bob is going to submit a review to the iTunes store, and it's going to say no fart jokes, 1 star.
Yeah, there's not enough misogyny going on. Can we just like go back to bashing the bronze? But no, it was a good conversation. You know, it's actually interesting, and I was listening. I just didn't have much to add because I'm a fucking idiot.
I definitely think the professor should definitely come on my show because I like obviously like you said like my show is way more serious compared to Fine Whining, right? But I definitely do think that if the professor came to my show, like people would definitely enjoy it way more. They would appreciate it. Oh
yeah, for sure, 100%. As I was saying, I was like, man, like I know Jerry's audience would like this. So not this audience. This audience was fucking just filled with beautiful, smart individuals that
racism
and racism, misogyny.
If only I could get an invite to Jerry's show.
Oh, I didn't know about you, Professor. Like, yeah, I'll definitely, we'll set something up right now. Ironically enough, right? Mm-hmm. I'm supposed to go to Illinois next week. I'm supposed to go tomorrow for work, and I finally have my MacBook and all that, so I could take my podcast on the go. So, nice. We should definitely record something because like I feel like the way you speak and like just your knowledge on certain things, it's. I don't know. It's definitely something that people, at least that listen to my show, would definitely be like, "Oh shit, I bet he got a cool guest on." You know what I mean?
So, wow!
Yeah. Look at that, Tom. Great. All right. I know we're hitting like an hour already. Jerry, do you have any wines you want to go into?
I had a fucking wine. I ain't gonna lie, you bro. I had a wine. I started hearing the professor. I said, "Yeah, he cooking for real." I forgot. Like, I completely forgot my wine. It was probably about like, it was about. Ooh, that's what it was. Okay, yeah. So let me tell y'all something. So for those who don't know, I was working in upstate New York. You know, doing my thing. You know, solar business and all that, selling people solar. Cool. Blah blah blah. Cool. And I went to Jersey to see my mom. I saw my mom, cool. Saw her, blah, blah, blah. Then I started driving back to Texas. On my way to Texas, I'm like, hey, we might need some gas. Let's stop by a gas station. So mid-drive, I look up gas stations open 24/7. And it says, oh, make the next right. I make the next right. I drive up to the fucking gas station, and it's closed. So I'm like, you know, maybe they're closed on a random Tuesday. I don't know. Cool. You know, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, let me look up gas stations near here. So there's another gas station a mile down the road. I'm like, I only have 5 miles left. Let's see what we can do. Cool. Drive to the gas station, and it's fucking closed too. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, it says 24/7. Clearly, it's not 24/7. What do we do now? So mind you, now I have 4 gallons of gas left, and I'm just like, ugh. Like, and it's not even so much that, you know, you still have that extra oomph in your gas. It's like, no, I already used the whole gas. This is the extra oomph getting used. Like, we are at the point of no return, you know? And then I'm
here to the fake lady in the box. Those gas stations very well could have been open 24/7. They just weren't open the 24/7 that you stopped by. That's different, you see.
And it's fucked because then I'm like, man, I only have 4 gallons of gas left. We have X amount of miles. What can we do? Realistically, what can we do? And then at that point, it's like, well, fuck it. We'll just try to go to the last one. Hopefully, they're open. and we'll go from there. Drive to the last one, and by the miracle of the universe, it's like, oh shit, it's open. Hey, let's go. Pump the fucking gas. Boo, 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 boo. Get fucking 240 miles. Cool. It's lit, right? But it's like, dude, if you're not fucking open 24/7, update it on your fucking Google Maps. Update it on your Apple Maps. Just update your shit. Update it up to date. Because it's like, what if it's an emergency and I'm like, oh shit, I'm on my last mile. Fuck it. They're 24/7. And then they're not. Then you have to call your insurance and be like, hey, I ran out of gas. Can y'all send someone? Like, it's so fucking annoying. And it's like, it's not that hard to go online and be like, we're open from 6 a.m. to, I don't know, 12 p.m., It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, update your fucking thing. It's funny you say that. Dude, I recently got out, like I said, bring back to the concert thing. I got out, I was like, fucking, we're all drunk. I was like, fuck, we need to eat something because fucking we're fucked up and we all need to drive home responsibly. And then unfortunately I went to Denny's. I was 3 miles away. Thank God no one got ran over. But I was like, oh, there's this one place, like, place down the block. It's like, oh, it's called for something. I was like, oh yeah, we got food and all that stuff. Like, oh cool, yeah, let's go down there. We go down there. Oh yeah, the kitchen closed like 3 hours ago, but we're serving drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We looked at another place. All right, there's some fucking Asian restaurant. I was like, oh, we're open 24 hours. Oh, fucking cool. Let's go hit up that spot. Closed. Not fucking open. And like I said, it's just so fucking simple just to correct these things. But like, you would think we're in the age of online and like motherfuckers, like they will look at it and like, this is your major selling point. You need to be on point online, especially with fucking, this even happens with Uber Eats. I don't know if you had a situation or like there's this one Mexican place I love and it's like, oh, I like going there. And they're like, oh, we have, carne asada fries and like all this shit. I'm like, oh shit, they never had it before. I'm gonna go get some carne asada fries. Cancel order canceled. Okay, reordered it. Canceled order. Then I called the place. I was like, hey, can I have carne asada fries? No, we don't serve carne asada fries. Then update your fucking shit, idiot. Like, and then just update your shit.
As much as this annoys me, I will push back on this because there's 2 or 3 problems here. One, you'd be surprised that in the year of our Lord 2024, how many business owners still don't know how to use a fucking computer or the internet. 2, depending upon what the information source is, even if they updated their stuff, it doesn't mean that it's going to propagate. What I mean by that is let's say that they update the hours on their website. If that isn't picked up through an API call, or through a web crawl, then that means that Yelp may not get updated. It means that Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever may not get updated. It means that Google itself may not get updated. And so there are technical solutions to this problem, but people have to care and they have to know. And then the other part of that is with COVID and then post-COVID, depending upon where you're at, and I've seen this just down the road for me, businesses can't get people to staff the restaurants. And so if they then start having erratic hours, like maybe they were going to be open, but people didn't come in for their shift. And so they had to close because they couldn't operate as a business.
Well, you think with the gas station, but like, I mean, that seems like one of the major things. Like, yeah, maybe the dumb restaurant, like the restaurant, like, yeah, that's just dumb. But with the fucking gas station, that's kind of like necessary.
And keep in mind, it was on a fucking like a main highway that people could just they use to get around the fucking state, right? And I get it if it was like in some backwoods country shit, like yeah, no one gives a fuck about this. Who the fuck gonna come pump gas at 3 a.m, right? Mm-hmm. But it's 3 a.m. We're on a main fucking highway. Apparently everything is closed. And again, I typed in specifically 24-hour gas stations. It came up, so I drove and nothing. And then I go to the next one, nothing. And I'm just like, dude, we're fucked. Because again, if I call the insurance,
and this was in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, this was in Jersey. Yeah.
Well, so the problem that you have in New Jersey is that nobody knows how to pump their own gas.
Yeah, that's a big fucking issue too. I'm because like, dude,
you're elite fucks. Mm-hmm. And consequently, when they say open 24/7, that means that somebody actually has to be there to pump the gas.
Yeah.
Because, inserting a credit card, well, I mean, that would be violating union rules. And that's why those places weren't open.
Which is insane because I'm so used to Texas now where I could go to a gas station at fucking 2:25 in the morning, 3:40, any time of the day. I'll just go put my credit card, boop, we're good. Unless it's like a small town, then they're obviously not. But most gas stations, they're still open, or they let you use the gas pumps, right?
Mhm.
But in Jersey, I'm just like, dude, like, why the fuck? Like, at least keep one or two open in case of an emergency. But no, they just said, fuck it. Like, no one's here, no one gets gas. And it's like, man, it got me fucking mad.
Let me explain something to you.
Mm.
Right now, in an obscure part of the country you've never heard of, say North Carolina, there has been this thing called a hurricane, which has a lot of wind, a lot of rain associated with it, and that's went through that area. Infrastructure has been destroyed. There's clearly emergency there, and the government has refused to let people go in to actually help people that have been affected. So the word emergency, I don't think that word means what you think it means. At least not based on the behavior of, say, the federal government, in this case in North Carolina. And if a hurricane and mudslides and floods is not enough of an emergency to get things like fuel in, then clearly you running out of fuel in the middle of the road in the middle of the night doesn't qualify.
But the thing about that, or at least the thing with my situation was, this happened like 3 weeks before the hurricane fucked everything up. So I'm just like, man, fuck these people, fuck this township for, and ooh, just to top it off. Hold on now, just to top it off, right? I'm almost out of gas. We're in the fucking boonies. There isn't anything going on. There's just mountains, the Appalachian Mountains of Jersey, whatever, right?
All right.
And then I'm in North Jersey. My mom and everyone in my family, we live in South Jersey, South, whatever the fuck, right? We go to a quick check. By the grace of the universe, it's open. It's like, okay, cool. I can get gas. I get some snacks too. It's a long drive, whatever, right? As soon as I pull out, or when I was in the store, I heard cop sirens, and I'm like, interesting that cops would be active right now. Who the fuck is doing crime at this time? Cool, whatever, right? I come out, and I see a car behind us, and I'm just like, it's kind of weird that they're following us. But whatever, I take off. I get into the main interstate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not even like 20 seconds later, I get pulled over. I'm like, fuck. And it's like, so we almost ran out of gas. Now we're getting pulled over. And I'm gonna say this on my show whenever I upload it. But the cop pulled me over for my tints. Me and Mike, we talked about this before. Mm-hmm. Cops have nothing else to do with tints, right? And then he fucking comes up and he's like, I guess spoiler, or I guess depends on when this goes up, right? But he's like, yeah, the reason I pulled you over is because you have really dark tints, and that's not legal in this state. And I'm like, okay, I'm passing by, so it technically doesn't apply to me, right? And then he's like, and also too, you're from Texas, you're in North Jersey, it's 2 something in the morning. He's like, he says, and I quote
a picture. God damn.
He says, I just don't know if you're smuggling drugs. I was like, what the fuck?
I made that joke. I think that was the last episode where I made a joke about that.
Man. And I swear it fucking happened, dude. I was like, man. I'm like, fuck you, fucking loser. I'm like, hey, I told him, I'm like, look, like, I don't care what you have to do. I don't care what the fuck you want to put. I don't care the show you want to show. Just, get me the fuck out of here in 30 minutes. We have a flight to catch, and we're running short on time. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, don't worry. When my partner comes, he's like, you're going to have to get out the car. I was like, hold the fuck up. I'm like, I've never been told ever in my life to get out the car when a partner shows up. So, the partner shows up, another cop shows up, another cop shows up, and I'm just like, bro, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, dude, it's like 3 something in the morning. Why are you fucking with me? I just want to go drop him off at the airport, and then I could go to my mom's house, but...
Well, Jerry, so, what? Obviously, Tom doesn't know what you like. So Tom. Jerry, he's a Hispanic male. He's bald, tatted up, looks like a down-ass fool, as they would say, rolling with these tinted windows. And he's also been stopped at airports because he just has a shit ton of fucking snacks on him.
Brownies, yeah.
So he has like 10 or 20 fucking brownies stuffed in his suitcase, and he's wondering why people are asking questions.
You know, there's a friend of mine, or probably more like ex-friend. He was the one that actually turned me on to Top Gear. He was a car guy. He worked for a car place in town until that didn't work out anymore. And long story short, things were not working out for him economically. He stayed here to try some business, and it didn't work. His wife was from California. They had 2 kids, so she took them out to California. Eventually, he wound up moving out there with them because the business thing he tried just didn't work. And one of his close friends was a black guy that we had both worked with because I met him delivering food. And so that's how we knew each other. So they took a U-Haul from Alabama out to California, and they said, you know, what the hell? It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. We're going to go see the Grand Canyon. So they chose that route. But while they were crossing the country, they were out west somewhere in the middle of the night, you know, middle of nowhere. I can't remember if they ran out of gas or if the lights quit working or if they, you know, just pulled over to pee. But, you know, all of a sudden his friend goes, you know, in all the horror movies, it's the black guy that dies first. I don't feel so comfortable out here all of a sudden with you.
He knew. Ah, shit, that's funny.
Hey, but you know what they say? I'd rather be guilty but safe. And that's what it is. Be guilty but safe.
You can either be innocent and in jail, or you can look guilty and be free.
Exactly.
I've got another fine wine for this podcast.
Oh, okay. You had to wrap it up. Yes, please.
I hate podcasts that don't normalize their audio. And what I mean by that is, like, if I'm going down the road trying to listen to a podcast and then there hasn't been a level check and somebody's saying something and they're like, it sounds like they're mumbling because they're not on top of their mic, and or it's because nobody has went back to the episode audio and like normalized it so it's all kind of the same volume, then you can't listen to it in the car where there's road noise.
Yeah, true. That makes sense.
Very true.
Now, you know, there may be a bias here because one of the few podcasts that I've listened to kind of semi-regularly is No Agenda, which Adam Curry is half of that duo. And both Curry and Dvorak are audio guys, but Curry's the one that actually runs the show. Like, he presses all the buttons. So he's the one that's doing all the audio. And, you know, they both have good mic discipline because they've been in media for forever. But also, you know, he set his gear up so that way, you know, levels are set. And I don't know exactly how to solve that problem. I mean, other than like to be on top of it, but like either you do post-production or I guess you're looking at your VU meters or something.
You know what, man, and audio levels, they drive me insane, especially when it comes to music. Like, see me, I listen to the metal. I like the rock and rolls. I like all that stuff. And every time I listen to it, it's fucking all the, like, you would think, so metal, what do you think of metal? You think it's like loud, fucking, noisy, fucking bombastic, awesome. So when I listen to music, it's all low. And at max volume, it's still very low. But when my chick plays Ariana Grande or a Beyonce, it's somehow louder than every single metal song I have in my entire library. So yeah.
Could it be that you've listened to metal for so long that you have hearing loss in certain frequencies, and those frequencies that you don't have hearing loss in are the frequencies of Ariana Grande? Yes.
Could be possible.
Also the female frequencies.
You know, it could be because, you know, it's all the female singers, you know, and you're saying, like, it is like high pitch. It's like, oh, shit. It's like a dog whistle for me. Like, it just are fucking wilding out and shit.
So, your girlfriend is a Swiftie?
No. She is part of the Bayhive. Uh-oh. There comes that World War II in here.
Get off my lawn!
Shit, that's funny.
But yeah, good wine. I hope our audio, when I sent you the episode, if you listened to it, I hope it was at least listenable. I mean, I know it was.
No.
So, no, I knew exactly. That's where you were leading with that. Exactly. Oh man.
He said this shit was ass.
That shit was imbalanced as fuck. Because you know it's funny too. Because I sent him that episode, I was listening to it. I was like, you know what? I remember that being a decent episode. I listened back to it. I even told Jerry before the show. I was like, I don't think that episode was that good. Actually, I just sent him another one. We didn't even have an intro back then. Oh my goodness.
Well, particularly our mutual friend, her audio wasn't either that or there wasn't mic discipline.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. That's on Mike. I don't know.
I mean, I could have done better. I'm sure.
Well, I mean,
don't worry, blame me. I am
input.
the editor, so.
Yeah, but I mean, if you start with something that's less than perfect, it's you can only polish a turd to a certain level, right?
Yeah, because I remember, well, boring audio talk now, but yeah, her audio, like we were bleeding through, so I had to use the bot audio and try to like bump that and try to manually cut out the bleed. And I will blame John Jamingo because he has this issue every time, so I don't want to even blame Duchess. I will blame John and your fucking layering audio. You know what? By the way, Professor Tom was about to be on an episode of the Boomer Bunker, and you know what? And he called in and he was going to be a guest, and then audio was doubling on his end. So fuck you, John. You ruined that episode.
I'll say what I said in a private conversation regarding that. I think the audio doubling was on John's end. I also agree that he was right about the Blue Yeti Pro that I was using. It is a condenser mic. It will pick up everything. Now, to be fair, even though Bob and I have not released anything, we have done 2 recordings, and we did one on StreamYard and one on Restream. I think I used the Blue Yeti on both of those. I know that on StreamYard, to me, the audio sounded fine. Ecamm seemed to want to pick up the room. And the only thing I can figure is that StreamYard must have been doing a bunch of filtering where Ecamm wasn't. I've since moved on to the pod mic. I think it's great for what it is. I've always wanted to do something like an EVRE 20 or 27 or a Heal PR40. I just never got there. And then because I got a Rodecaster Duo recently, because Bob and I were going to do a show, when John got on to me about the mic, both John and Bob were recommending mics, and Mike was like, well, do a pod mic. And my thought was that if Rode makes the pod mic, and if Rode makes the Rodecaster Duo, and if they've got presets in it for the pod mic, it's a fair bet that the pod mic might not sound the best, but it sure as hell isn't going to sound the worst. Even if I fuck up my settings, it should sound halfway decent.
At least one would think.
Exactly. So that's the equipment I have right now. And, maybe one day I'll graduate to a gold-plated EVRE 20 or 27.
Maybe, and maybe I won't fuck up the audio on this episode. And maybe, you can listen to this in the car with your family and all that good stuff. But yeah, thank you for
this family thing that you speak of.
Oh, you don't got I thought you had like a loving wife and kids. You seem like the kind.
Oh man. How
Yeah.
Wait, Professor, you don't have a family?
No, why would I do that?
Oh,
you know what?
Dude,
you
look
really
like
is smart.
To have a family.
You really is smart. Like shit.
Smart motherfucker talking about.
I mean, but I'm not dumb.
Fuck them kids. But you know what? Because you're obviously a smart guy. You know what you're talking about. Where can we find you, Tom?
You can find me at Linktree or link.tree or whatever the hell their URL is, / Professor Tom. But I'm on Medium, I'm on Substack. I do have an X-Twitter account. I don't use it that often. I hang out on Discords.
Nice. Thank you for joining the show. You've been great. And yeah, I mean, that's the end. Thank you for joining us. And everyone, And if you can't follow that link, it'll be in the description. I'm streaming, of course, on.
Well, I was going to say this, Professor Tom. The articles that you read about, what are they about, so people can know, so they could click on them and all that?
So
Jews run the media, stuff like that. Are you one of those?
no.
Okay.
I'm not an anti-Semite.
Never mind. We can't platform you anymore. That's fine.
No, but go ahead, Mr. Professor.
I'm not on Odyssey. So I've done a tiny bit of tech writing. I actually did a couple of longer pieces specifically about the Apple event. So what I was hoping to get out of it, what we actually got out of it. I want to write more history, but it's going to take a lot of research to do what I want to do with that genre. I've written about current events. I do film reviews and book reviews. So kind of a little of everything. Culture stuff, history, sometimes current events, sometimes tech, but I feel like I don't have a lot to say about tech, even though it's what I've done as a profession. Because I feel like most of it's already been said. I don't the things that I would be interested in trying to cover, like I feel like I don't understand it well enough to then try to turn around and communicate it to someone else.
I was gonna say, I think I clicked on one of the links that Mike sent me, and it basically said that you were doing book reviews, right, on certain things. I was actually, I was gonna send you some books to see what your opinion is on them.
Good.
I've read those books a few times already, so like, I maybe it's a bias thing, but I think they're really good books, you know, depending on how you see it and just the perspective of it, right? And now that I heard you talk, and now that I see where you're coming from, like I am curious to know your book review on like one of my favorite books and see how you take it. So I definitely am gonna message you after this. So maybe hopefully you could do the book review on it. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Hell yeah. But go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Yes, but of course, thank you for joining us. Follow Mr. Tom. Links will be in the description, and yes, I will be back to streaming. I know I stopped for a bit, and with Cheese, and Cheese will be back. I'm sure he'll be back. He's not dead. You know, I like saying that jinx word because, you know, I had a co-host die before, but he's not dead. Just put that out there. He's not dead. And he will be back. And you can find us at the Fine Whining Live at twitch.tv or youtube.com/thecheeseman. And of course, listen to Jerry's podcast, Club 197. You can find that pretty much anywhere. He's on all the platforms. And you just might have Professor Tom on there. If you like what you heard here, you'll hear it there. And it'll be better without me interjecting with a bunch of retarded shit. Thank you again, Tom.
Well, thank you for having me.
Bye.
One man once died, but did you know that he could read all our minds? He was the U.S. Adam with Jack the wife. He was a hyper-charismatic telepathical knight. JFK.
Even though I'm better than you, I am not.
His parents were an academic team of elites. Their goal was to raise the future human supreme. He smelled like the future. His words felt like flowers. And if you shook your hand, you'd make love with it for hours. A list?
Let's. Soldier?
Check.
Flight?
True. Commie? No.
Rich?
Quite. And was he the true cousin of Sir Jesus Christ?
You fucking know he was, man.
Made love, read minds, went inside of more than half of mankind. Let us down, but shit, how could we mind? He was a handsome devil, but the kind of devil you like. Wore suits sometimes, started movies that appeared in our minds. He knew the secrets of all space and time, and if he liked you, he would tell you, but you had to unwind.
You don't know it, but you are full of stars.
He He understands my shit, said the short and the tall. He saw a million faces and he sexed them all. I saw him heal a zebra. I saw him love his wife. I saw him bless a demon and that demon changed its life. Some secrets never aired about the sex lord elect. Let us go back to the start. When JFK was just specs, no one knew, no one guessed, due to all of his flaws, that the world's most human mofo wasn't human at all. Oh, fake man, great stats, never sat to empty out all his crap. How could a program love and fuck so sweet? He was the hyper-sympathetic telepathic machine. JFK, JFK.
Man is still the most extraordinary computer of all. And women are even cooler.